Avi Mehta, the Senior Research Analyst at Macquarie Capital, is joining us to talk to us about that. Avi, hi, good to be speaking with you. Well, I understand that you recently met a lot of investors. Talk to us about what the interest situation is right now when it comes to the FMCG sector, because it's been an underperformer. Are they still committed to it? Are they very tentative and skeptical about the growth at the rural level? What exactly is the pain point?
Thanks for having me here. You are right. We did have a chance to meet investors across UK and EU, and the feedback has been, more towards looking at India on a positive lens. So there is clearly a lot of interest to look at India, trying to kind of, take part in the growth story that is India as we speak. That said, specifically on consumption, there is a divergence in trying to kind of look for ideas which are going to play themes which are playing in the aspiring India thought process, or towards an expectations where earnings could probably change in. On your second point about rural, and you were kind of pointing towards, yes, volume growth momentum is something that is not panning out as we speak in rural India, and there the pickup has been lackluster and not as sharp as we would have hoped it would turn out to be.
Overall, what are the trends that you're picking up right now, Avi? Because one has clearly seen a distinct pattern when it comes to aspirational India and a clear disconnect in terms of what Bharat's consumption trends are. When do you think the sort of gap is going to get narrowed, or will it at all?
No, good question. That was one of the themes that was debated. Is there a structural issue in rural, and can it actually recover at all? Now, our stance is a lot more constructive. We do not believe there is a issue that is panning out on a structural basis. We remain a lot more optimistic about rural recovery on the back of agri incomes coming back, which should, in our opinion, pan out when monsoon hits it. That said, near term, the triggers for that to kind of change need some sort of an income boost, which we are unable to fathom as we speak. So medium term positive, near term, yes, concerned as we speak.
So that's the way how investors are looking at the rural story. But talk to me about the paint sector. I think that's one part of the a market that the investors are clearly very interested in understanding what the entry of new players will do to the incumbent. What's your view on Asian Paints and the rest of the market as well?
So on Asian Paints, there was a lot of debate. Now, clearly, we have a counter consensus call over here where we are arguing for the paint sector for the leader to not be severely dented. We look at Grasim's entry as a person or a player who's a lot more responsible. The player is not looking to significantly use a discounting-led mechanism to drive growth. We are a lot more optimistic on the segment per se. Near-term volatility, in our opinion, could be an opportunity to get into a good player in this segment. Now, one of some aspects that were discussed and this were debated was A, on the discounting that Grasim is priced down, B, whether there is going to be a huge pressure point on a margin perspective. And this is something that was a lot of debate, was a point of debate that kind of came in. Now, our thought has been that if you look at discounting levels that Grasim has kind of priced at, it's not materially different from what the other players are doing. So there is not a discounting-led approach that Grasim is trying to build on. Their launch event, their discussions initial, all make us believe that their focus is to build a brand over here. And when you're trying to build a brand, discounting cannot be the approach that you would do. And we believe that if that is the approach that Grasim is trying to kind of use, there isn't a capability for us or for players to kind of exist in this high growth environment. And this volatility or concern on earnings that people are essentially looking at could be an opportunity to enter into a name like Asian Paints at a reasonable valuation, which historically have not been able to get at. So that is how we have kind of positioned. The pushback has been on clarity. People would like to get clarity on what is the likely earnings impact. And till that clarity emerges, a lot of people are still on the sidelines.
That's about the paint sector and how you should approach that space. But within consumption itself, if I had to ask you, which is the space which you think has the highest amount of risk reward, available on the table for investors to make gains? What within, consumption comes out? Because of course there's consumer durables, there's QSR, there are a lot of different segments as well. What's the best theme to play right now?
See, our view, and we've had the opportunity to be on this channel earlier as well. Our view still remains on the Aspiring India theme being a more structural theme that will kind of pan out. And we reiterate our stance on that. And Titan is a play that kind of works in that kind of thought process. Beyond that, if one were to kind of look other themes that are panning out, you did highlight about QSR. We are a lot more cautious over there. We prefer a Westlife over a Jubilant Foodworks because there, from a growth perspective, we believe that McDonald's as a format lends itself to a lot more day parts, which is possible. There is a longer leash in terms of store additions that can pan out over there, given the scale that it is at. And we would prefer that in this current environment. But from a theme perspective, our key picks have been Asian Paints on Titan and DMart. In a sense, a lot more focused on the discretionary lens rather than the staple side, given our concerns on rural recovery. If at all one has to kind of argue for the staples plays, probably a second half play, our preference would be to go in a Hindustan Unilever where there has been significant correction in the year-to-date basis, and we believe any potential recovery could drive a re-rating upwards.
Great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for joining in with those quick insights and how you think the consumption trends are panning out.
Thanks a lot for having me.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.